Hey there, I'm Acacia. I'm 32, crushing it at my law firm, and married to Derek, who I once thought was the man of my dreams. On the surface, life seemed perfect. But then came the in-laws. Let me tell you about the family I married into. It was one of those dreaded monthly dinners at Derek's parents' place. From the moment we walked in, I felt like I was tiptoeing over landmines. The tension was thick enough to choke on. Acacia, dear, my mother-in-law, Martha, greeted me with that signature, tight-lipped smile. I see you're wearing pants again. Don't you own any dresses? Her words dripped with disapproval. I forced a smile. I came straight from work, Martha. Big case. From the armchair, Derek's father, Robert, grunted. Work, work, work. When are you two going to start thinking about giving us grandchildren? Derek stiffened beside me. Dad, we've talked about this. We're focusing on our careers right now. And then, like clockwork, Derek's sister Emma burst into the room, her voice a little too chipper. Hey, everyone. Acacia, love your top. Is it new? Something about Emma's constant perkiness always set me on edge. She was nice enough, sure, but something was always off. As we moved to the dining room, I couldn't help but notice the display cabinet crammed with glittering heirlooms. Martha caught me looking. Beautiful, aren't they? These pieces have been in the family for generations. Of course they'll go to Emma one day. Family tradition, you understand. Her tone was sweet, but the message was clear. I wasn't truly part of this family. Dinner was no better. The subtle, and not so subtle, digs kept coming. Martha managed to spill wine all over my white blouse. Robert questioned every career choice I'd ever made, and Emma just kept throwing me these strange, almost guilty glances. Finally, after what felt like a lifetime, Derek and I were driving home. That wasn't so bad, right? He asked, ever oblivious. I couldn't hold it in anymore. Are you serious? Your mom basically called me a bad wife. Your dad thinks I'm obsessed with my career. And don't even get me started on Emma's fake compliments. Derek sighed, shaking his head. You're overreacting. They're just traditional. Give it time. I had given it time, 3 years in fact. Something had to give. The next morning, I met up with my best friend Zoe for coffee. Girl, you won't believe the night I had, I vented, diving into the whole disaster. Zoe listened, her eyes widening with every detail. Acacia, this isn't normal, she said, her voice steady but serious. The way they treat you, it's not okay. I nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat. I know, but what can I do? They're Derek's family. Family or not, you don't deserve this, Zoe insisted. And you said Emma was acting strange. You think something's up with her? I paused, thinking it over. Now that you mention it, yeah, she seemed nervous, and I could have sworn I heard her arguing with Martha in the kitchen about money. Zoe leaned in, lowering her voice. Keep your eyes open, Acacia. I've got a feeling there's more going on here than just family drama. As I left the coffee shop, I couldn't shake the feeling she was right. I had no idea just how right she was. I was knee-deep in depositions the next day when everything came crashing down. One moment, I was highlighting witness statements, and the next, my office door flew open like something out of a bad courtroom drama. There stood Martha, her face red with fury, storming toward my desk. Behind her trailed Robert, Emma, and Derek, whose face was ghostly pale. There she is, the thief, Martha's voice rang out, echoing through the room. I blinked, completely thrown. Excuse me? I managed to get out, my mind racing. Martha slammed her hands on my desk, sending papers flying. Don't play dumb, Acacia. We know you took the family jewels. My jaw dropped. What? I didn't take anything. By now, a small crowd had gathered outside my office, colleagues whispering, their eyes wide with curiosity. Robert stepped forward, his voice low and menacing. We trusted you, let you into our home, and this is how you repay us? By stealing our heirlooms? I felt like I was trapped in a nightmare. I swear, I don't know what you're talking about. I would never. Save it, Martha screeched, cutting me off. Who else would have access? Who else would know their value? I turned to Derek, desperate, hoping, begging for him to defend me. But he just stood there, silent and useless. Derek, I pleaded, tell them this is insane. You know I'd never do this. He shifted uncomfortably, avoiding my gaze. "Mom, Dad, maybe we should talk about this at home," he said, his weak response feeling like a slap in the face. Emma, who had been suspiciously quiet until now, finally spoke up. "We just want the jewelry back, Acacia. If you return it, maybe we can forget this whole thing." I stared at her, dumbfounded. I can't return what I don't have. I didn't take anything. Before I could say more, my boss, Mr. Jacobson, stepped in. "I think it's time everyone calmed down. This is a place of business, not a courtroom." As security escorted Derek's family out, I could still hear Martha's shrill voice echoing down the hallway. "We'll go to the police. You won't get away with this." The aftermath was brutal. Whispers followed me everywhere. Colleagues who once respected me now looked at me with suspicion and pity. I could feel their eyes on me, questioning everything. Later that evening, back at our apartment, the fight I knew was coming finally exploded. "How could you just stand there?" I demanded, my voice shaking with anger. "Why didn't you defend me?" Derek ran his hands through his hair, clearly frustrated. "What was I supposed to do, Acacia? They're my family. And I'm your wife," I snapped. "Or does that mean nothing to you?" He sighed, the sound heavy with exhaustion. "Of course it does. But you have to admit, it looks bad. The jewelry goes missing, and you're the only outsider. Whoa." I cut him off, furious. "Outsider? Is that what I am to you?" "To them. After 3 years of marriage." "That's not what I meant," he backpedaled. "I'm just saying from their perspective." "Their perspective is wrong," I snapped. "And the fact that you're even entertaining the idea that I might be guilty, I can't believe this." That night, as I lay in bed, unable to sleep, my mind raced. Something wasn't adding up. The timing of the accusation, the way Emma had been acting at dinner, it was all too convenient. I grabbed my phone and fired off a text to Zoe. "You were right. Something weird is going on with Derek's family. I need your help." Her response came almost instantly. "I'm on it. We'll figure this out, aka no one messes with my girl and gets away with it." For the first time in days, I felt a glimmer of hope. I didn't know what was really going on. But one thing was clear. I wasn't going down without a fight. Someone was trying to set me up, and I was going to find out who and why, if it was the last thing I did. The next few days were a blur of whispers and sideways glances at work. The weight of suspicion was suffocating. Then my phone buzzed. An unknown number. "Is this Acacia? It's Lily, Emma's friend. We need to talk. It's about the jewelry." My heart raced. When and where? We met at a quiet cafe across town. Lily looked nervous, fidgeting with her coffee cup. "Emma's in trouble, Acacia," she whispered. "She's the one who took the jewelry." I leaned in, barely breathing. "What? Why?" Lily's voice dropped even lower. "She's been using drugs. It started with pills, but now, it's bad. She needed money for her dealer." My mind reeled. But why blame me? Martha found out, Lily explained, her voice trembling. She was furious, but more worried about the family's reputation. "So they decided to pin it on you." I felt sick. "Do you have any proof?" Lily nodded and slid an envelope across the table. Inside were photos of Emma at a pawn shop and text messages about drug deals. "I'm sorry," Lily said, tears welling in her eyes. "I should have come forward sooner, but I was scared. I didn't want to betray Emma, but this isn't right." I left the cafe in a daze, my mind spinning. I had to confront Derek. Back at our apartment, I laid everything out in front of him. Lily's confession, the photos, the texts. Derek's face went pale. "This can't be true." "Emma wouldn't." "Wake up, Derek," I said, my voice cold. "Your precious family isn't as perfect as you think. Your sister needs help, and your mother, she's protecting her at my expense." Derek slumped onto the couch, his head in his hands. "I don't know what to say. How about, 'I'm sorry for not believing you, Acacia,' or 'I'll stand by you and help clear your name'?" He looked away, unable to meet my eyes. Zoe and I spent the next day gathering every shred of evidence we could. We tracked down the pawn shop owner, got security footage, and even found Emma's dealer, who was more than happy to talk once we mentioned the possibility of a reduced sentence. With everything in place, I called Derek. "Family meeting tonight. Everyone needs to be there." "Acacia, I don't think. This isn't a request, Derek. Be there or don't bother coming home." That evening, the tension in Derek's parents' living room was thick enough to cut with a knife. Martha glared at me, her eyes full of venom, while Robert shifted uncomfortably. Emma wouldn't look at anyone. "What's this about, Acacia?" Martha snapped. "Come to confess." I took a deep breath. "Actually, I'm here to clear my name and to help Emma." Emma's head snapped up, panic flooding her eyes as I began laying out everything. The photos, the text messages, the pawnshop receipts, one by one, I presented the evidence. With each piece, the color drained from Martha's face. "Emma's been struggling with addiction," I said gently. "She took the jewelry to pay for drugs." Derek looked like he'd been punched in the gut. "Emma, is this true?" His voice was barely above a whisper. Emma broke down into sobs. "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I never wanted this." Robert shot to his feet, his face crimson with rage. "You knew about this?" he bellowed at Martha. Martha's carefully composed mask cracked. "I was trying to protect her, to protect our family name. By destroying mine?" I shot back, my voice trembling with controlled anger. "By accusing me of theft." Derek finally found his voice. "Mom, how could you? And Emma, why didn't you come to us for help?" Emma's sobs deepened. "I was ashamed, scared." Then it spiraled out of control. The room exploded into chaos. Accusations, apologies, and blame ricocheted through the air. But I stood firm, cutting through the storm with a clear, steady voice. "Emma needs help, real help, and all of you need to take a long, hard look at yourselves." As the dust settled, Derek turned to me, his eyes filled with remorse. "Acacia, I am so sorry. I should have believed you. I should have stood by you." I nodded, my heart heavy but not yet ready to forgive. "Yes, you should have." The next few months were a whirlwind. Emma entered rehab, facing the consequences of her actions, but also getting the help she desperately needed. Martha and Robert started family therapy, unraveling years of enabling behavior and misplaced priorities. As for me, I threw myself into my work, rebuilding my reputation with the truth finally out. My colleagues, once suspicious, now rallied around me. 6 months after that fateful family meeting, I made partner at the firm. Derek and I, well, that was complicated. We were in counseling, slowly working through the breach of trust. Some days were better than others. "I'm proud of you," he said one evening, his voice soft as we sat in the quiet of our apartment. "The way you handled everything. You're incredible." I smiled, feeling a warmth I hadn't felt in months. "Thanks, I'm proud of me too." We were taking it day by day, rebuilding our relationship on a foundation of honesty this time. It wasn't easy, but it was a start. As for Martha and Robert, our relationship was civil but distant. They were trying. I'll give them that. But some wounds take longer to heal than others. Looking back, I realized how close I'd come to losing myself in their lives. But I stood my ground, fought for the truth, and came out stronger. If I've learned anything from this, it's that the truth always finds a way out. And when it does, you better make sure you're on the right side of it, because in the end, your integrity is all you've got. Everything else, just noise. Now let's step back for a moment. Imagine yourself in Acacia's shoes. Your spouse's family falsely accuses you of a crime, and your partner fails to defend you. Where would you draw the line? Is there a way back from such a betrayal, or would this mark the end of the relationship? Family loyalty versus marital commitment. The challenge of addiction within families, the lengths people will go to protect their reputation. Navigating these waters is anything but simple. Would you fight to clear your name like Acacia did, or would you walk away? Is forgiveness possible after such a profound breach of trust? Share your thoughts in the comments. If this story resonated with you, please like the video and subscribe for more thought-provoking content. Your support helps us continue sharing intense, real-life inspired narratives. We look forward to reading your responses and engaging in this important discussion.